Hello everyone, I am Terry Candlestick and welcome back to the channel. I'm here with more Echo. Last time Leo was manipulating everyone a whole lot just to keep Chase all to himself. And then Chase seemed to have just a regular old nightmare. It turns out he brought some of that nightmare back with him into Leo's bed. So it's... what the heck's really going on? So, red flags from Leo and weird stuff from, happening with Chase. So let's learn a little bit more, continue on this adventure that is Leo's route. Leo wakes me up early the next day, telling me he had to settle some stuff with his dad at the shop. I don't get much of a chance to ask why, or for how long, because he's out the door, yelling something about food being in the fridge. Immediately I fall back asleep, though, and when I open my eyes again, it's 2 hours later. Leo texted me half an hour ago. Still at Pop Shop, but be back soon. I think. I swallowed back down the lump of dread in my throat, and I remember the text messages. I didn't want to confront him, not one bit, but I can't just let it sit. Something has to be said before I leave. I lay around for another 20 minutes before grabbing my phone to browse a bit. That's when I realized I hadn't charged it last night. My battery at just 25%. I groan and throw my arm over my eyes. One day left to do the project. I'm so far behind, though, that I'm not even feeling any anxiety about it at this point. Just resigned. I should have known better, really, that I wasn't gonna get anything done with Leo around. I stare at the wall for a while longer before I force myself to sit up. No use laying around. I might not be making my best project, but it didn't mean I couldn't do a few things to make it less terrible. Food momentarily crosses my mind, but I shrug it off. I'd never been a breakfast person anyway. As soon as I leave the house, I notice things are a bit off. Firstly, it's dead quiet. Usually there's some kind of drone. Whether it's the wind or a plane overhead, there's usually something. No sound of birds either. And those were always chirping in the morning. I stand in the doorway for a bit, feeling a vague sense of tension, electricity in the air. Something building. I shake my head, feeling dizzy. That dream last night had fucked me up in all kinds of ways, so it's not surprising that it's probably still messing with me. I'll be glad to be gone from this place tomorrow. Some rustling next door draws my attention, and I see Kudzu, carrying a set of clippers, walk across his front yard. I open my mouth to say hi, but I hold it back, feeling self-conscious. His brooding nature was a bit intimidating, and I don't know if he's the kind of person who expects a greeting or not. I'm not left to wonder long, though, because he spots me almost immediately and raises a hand. Morning. Oh, hey there. He grunts before setting his attention on a bush in front of him, sizing it up. I stand there awkwardly for a bit longer, wondering if that's the end of our exchange, but he speaks up again. Leo take off? He nods his head at the empty driveway. Oh, yeah, earlier this morning. I walk down from the porch and walk over to the edge of Leo's lawn so it doesn't feel like we're yelling at each other. Said something about having to take care of business with his dad. I see. Kudzu stops trimming and looks up at me before smiling. You can come on my lawn. It's not like I have an electric fence or anything. Looking down, I see that I'm towing the edge of his immaculate lawn on Leo's side, looking like a little kid. I blushed before stepping over to crunch along the tan-colored gravel he had set out. It's weird how nice it all is, especially compared to the shitty trailer sitting in the middle of it all. If he had an adobe-styled house, the place would be southwestern perfection. This all looks really nice. I guess gardening is your hobby? Thanks. Kudzu snaps at the bush rather aggressively. I like it. It's what I do most of the day. The raccoon moves to the side of the bush, examining it. It's peaceful. He gives the bush another snip before resting a hand on his hip, while he lets the clippers dangle in the other. And it keeps you in shade. I can't argue with that. Although he's skinny, the muscles shone through the fur on his arms. He's probably the most in-shape guy I've ever seen in Echo. I realize I'm staring and quickly snap my eyes back to his, but he's already smirking. I worry he's about to point out that he caught me, but instead he gestures at my camera bag with his clippers. Gonna do something for your project? Yeah. Need to get a bit more film before I leave tomorrow. The slender raccoon wipes his forehead with a forearm. Anything in particular? I think. Not really, just old stuff to show the town's age. Kudzu sticks the clippers into the ground, looking up as he seems to think. I know of a few things. You go to the old school? Yeah, was headed there actually. And then there's the ruins next to the lake. Yeah. Was gonna wait for Leo to drive me there later today. Other than that, there's an old rusted pump up the road, but I don't know if that's actually from Echo's earlier days. Couldn't hurt to look. Where is it exactly? Kudzu points over my shoulder up the road. Down past Duke's house, right before the convenience store. It's kinda hidden back in some brush, but I can take you there. Oh, if it's no trouble. It's fine. I've got plenty of time to do this today. Well, alright, thanks. I shift the bag on my shoulder and stand to the side of as Kudzu tosses the clippers beside the bush, then starts walking towards the road. I follow him quietly, again feeling awkward under his no-nonsense attitude. So you and Leo getting along? Yeah, we're having fun. My mind wanders back to text messages and my stomach clenches. Good. He's been looking forward to this week for a while now. Wouldn't shut up about it last week. I'm somewhat surprised that it's Kudzu filling the silence between us. Not that I mind. He's pretty damn good at it for such a somber guy. I smile. Yeah, that's Leo. He really misses our old pack. Or does he? Kudzu huffs a laugh. Wolves. I agree. Wolves. As we walk, I can smell the heavy musk coming from the raccoon. Mingling with his scent neutralizer, evidence of a hard day's work. There's something special about hanging out with another musky creature. It makes you feel less self-conscious. So, I know you hate Peyton, but don't you have to go back there for work? Back in the day. Had a job studying desert plants after college. Good times. That would definitely put him a few steps above most everyone living in Echo, where a high school diploma is a rare thing. I'm a clerk in the town hall. So no, I'm pretty much always here. Always? Don't you have a car? Sold it after I came here. Wow, don't you have to get out to shop for food? Sometimes. I grow and fish for what I can. And the convenience store has a surprisingly good produce section. But otherwise, Leo gives me rides once in a while. Ah, gotcha. Again, I'm curious about what exactly happened in Peyton. I'm going to be gone by tomorrow, and I don't find the question to be too intrusive, especially with all the information he's provided me so far. So, I don't want to be nosy. I let the statement hang for a moment, and Kudzu turns his head towards me. Then maybe you shouldn't ask? That stops me short, and I almost stop walking. I feel my face get warm under the heat of the sun. I glance over at the raccoon, but his expression isn't accusatory or angry. It's just as neutral as it always is. It makes me wonder if this is just the raccoon's way of speaking. I already know how blunt he can be. I decide to trust what little I know about him and press forward. No? I ask it with the same straight face. Well, you should always ask yourself if asking something nosy is a good idea. No reason to do it if it's going to piss someone off needlessly. But before I can even consider, Kudzu goes on. Now, considering what we were just talking about, I can probably guess what you're going to ask. I can feel the embarrassment returning. Yeah? But before I answer it, I have a question for you. I shrink a little more into myself. Yeah? Why do you care? This question definitely catches me by surprise, and at first I wonder if this is just Kudzu's way of telling me to shut up. But again, after looking at his face, I decide to just tell him the truth. I clear my throat. Well, I like you. You're a cool guy. It comes out rather lamely, but it is the truth. He has a demeanor of not really giving a fuck about what others think of him. It's like Flynn, except Kudzu didn't seem like he was putting up a front at all. On top of that, he stepped in to stop a crowbar-wielding drug addict when he saw his friend in danger. Kudzu laughs, genuinely, but it's a bit startling. That's really the reason? I'm flustered again. Well, yeah. Fair enough. And I like you too. Leo was mostly right about you. What did Leo say about me? A lot of things. But you can't expect a wolf as love-smitten as he is to not exaggerate, can you? No, I guess not. I step on a particularly large rock and nearly lose my balance. Before I can even stumble, though, Kudzu's grasping my arm tightly, stopping me from running into him. Whoa! Sorry. And thanks. This raccoon had damn fast reflexes. No problem. I start to walk again, but Kudzu doesn't move. I stop and glance at him, but he's looking up the road, not at me. I lost someone in Peyton. It takes me a moment to realize what he's talking about, but then I do. By a guy with a gun who didn't give a fuck. I swallow and don't say anything, looking down at the ground. Happened on the same street we lived on. Of course, I had no idea what to say and wait for Kudzu to go on, but he doesn't. When I look up, I see that he's looking right at me. I swallow. Yeah, that would make me want to move too. Yeah. People. And there's less of them here. I'm sorry. Kudzu just looks back at me. Why? I open my mouth, but before I can say anything, Kudzu smiles. Kidding. I let my breath out in relief and laugh a little. Well, should we keep going? I make as if to walk up the road again, but Kudzu doesn't follow. When I look back, he nods at the brush on the side of the road. It's right in here. I wasn't expecting much, and I'm not disappointed as we come up on the pump. It's mostly just a rusted piece of metal sticking out of the ground. Kudzu seems a bit put off by how lame it is himself. Smaller than I remember it being. Meh. It's something, at least. I'll get a few shots out of it. I started unpacking the camera from the bag, a bit reluctant to do it for something so insignificant. How'd you find this thing, anyway? I look towards the road, which is basically hidden by the dense brush in front of me. Needed to take a piss. I know my house is right there, but peeing outside is liberating. Ah. Speaking of which, I'm gonna go do that. He pauses. I can do it in front of the pump if you'd like, for effect. That's awesome, Kudzu. I forced a laugh, wondering if this is the first time I've heard the raccoon make a joke. At least I hope it's a joke. My laughing turns to a groan, though, when I see the battery level. First my phone, now this. What's up? Kudzu asks from a bit deeper in the brush, facing away from me. My battery is low. Not gonna have enough for the school. I'll have to go back and grab a spare. Oh, well. Why don't you finish the footage for the pump while I run back and grab you another battery? You sure? Well, yeah. It'll be faster. I've been in his house a few times. Where's it at? In a dock on his desk next to his computer. Alright. I'll be back. And with that, Kudzu jogs off out of the brush and back onto the road. Within a minute, I feel like I have all the footage I can get out of the pump. I sigh and rub my face, glad to at least be out of the sun, but annoyed that I've gotten so little footage for it. As I'm doing this, I hear what sounds like a gag behind me. I perk my ears and look back. I hear it again, but it's softer. More of a grunt this time. I'm almost positive that Kudzu didn't go that way, but I can't imagine who else it would be. Kudzu? I wonder if maybe the heat has gotten to him. I know how dangerous a heat stroke can be. Getting a little worried, I start moving further into the brush. Again, I hear a gag, and it's much louder this time. Kud? You alright? I start pushing deeper with a bit more urgency, and not 20 yards in, I come into a clearing. The ground is covered in dead grass, and the sun hits me again with a vengeance. I blink furiously, eyes watering under the brightness of the clearing and the blazing red behind my eyelids. After a few seconds, I'm able to pry my eyes open. The first thing I notice is a peeling trailer to the right, pressed up into the trees. I have some vague memories of a trailer back here, where a grumpy badger used to live. Straight in front of me in the meadow is a dead tree, with the dry, gnarled branches that twist up into the sky. The tree itself would be eerie, though, but it's what's under it that stops me dead. It takes a moment to comprehend what I see. Hanging from the lowest branch is a body, long and thin, emaciated down into a skeleton. I remain rooted to the spot, my mouth hanging open. Disgustingly, my mind immediately goes to the camera. I don't know why. Yeah, showing footage of a dead body to the whole class. I'd either get an A for being edgy, or I'd fail for showing a fucking dead body. Probably expelled, actually. I feel my stomach starting to turn, and I'm finally able to take my first step back. But then it moves. It's a quick jerk, one of the skeleton's hands reaching up spasmodically to its neck before slumping back down. With my eyes fully adjusted to the sun now, I recognize the color of the fur, the build of that skeleton-like body. Clint! On unsteady feet, I manage to stumble forward and reach out towards the ringtail, aiming to at least hold him up until I can shout Kudzu over to help. Somehow, though, he's able to spin and face me, his face an expression of mortified fury. His eyes are almost glowing with how bloodshot they are, and his twisted muzzle is covered in drool, leaking down his chin onto his chest. Get back! Leave! What? Clint, what the hell are you doing? I move forward again, but Clint lashes out with a foot, hitting me in the knee. That's when I see his toes are touching the ground, at least barely. I stare in confusion and look back up to meet Clint's furious eyes. Fucking leave! Spit flies from his muzzle as I take a step back, completely at a loss for words. I don't... His bulging eyes move from mine to look over my shoulder, and his enraged expression melts, eyes growing wider. Slowly I turn around, my vision is filled with a mountain of brown fur. My eyes take a moment to draw out and focus, and when they do, I realize I'm actually looking at a bear. A huge one, even for a bear. Huge, naked, and carrying a long, thin branch. The bear stands in the direction I'd come from, grinning stupidly at me. Instinctively, I widen my stance, eyes looking left and right. All reason has seemingly left the land of Echo, and now my brain is left to try and put the pieces of the crazy place together. I watch as a huge tongue sticks out from between the blubbery lips to lick at them, sliding slimily over the gaps of missing teeth. Ew. Once he's done with that, he breaks out into a grin again, those black lips shimmering under the sun. This a friend, cat? The weirdly high-pitched voice is about as startling as its size. I look back at Clint, who's still struggling to stand on his toes, clutching at the rope now. So hard to find a good switch back there, but now it's worth it. If there's 2 years. The squeak that comes out of my muzzle seems to perk the bear's stubbly ears, and he licks his lips again as he eyes me up and down. I should get going. Sorry about seeing... Words fail me as the bear takes a step forward, and I start sidestepping, preparing myself to make a run for it. Bear mimics my stance, and my stomach drops as I see him take another step forward. I change my trajectory and back away instead. This time he doesn't follow me, just grins as he watches me move back into the brush. Clint struggles on the end of his rope, twirling around lazily as he tries to get a foothold. I get one last look at his face as he spins around. I'm struck by his expression. For a moment, I'm 9 years old again, running behind the buildings on Main Street. Probably from the imaginary foreign agents of some kind. When I hide behind the tree next to Clint's house, I hear the screen door open, and for several seconds, I watch Clint breathing deeply into a rag. I'm too young to understand, but for some reason I know it's not good. When I finally decide to run from my hiding spot, Clint looks up and we meet eyes. His eyes are wide and wild, confused and hurt, just like now. I stumble into the brush, finally feeling like I'm far enough away to turn and really make a run for it. Kudzu is standing next to the pump when I get back, holding a battery. What? I grab his arm and yank him towards the road. Come on! I mutter under my breath before jogging down the road, Kudzu close behind, looking over his shoulder. It's not until we're on the end of the road turning on to Main Street before I'm able to slow myself down and tell Kudzu what happened. Holy shit, that's Brian. Who? I'm still panting, sweating heavily in the heat after the short jog down the street. Big-ass bear that lives in the brush, right? He has a trailer in there. I don't know him. Did he move here after I left? I thought a badger lived in that trailer. I assume so. He was here when I got here. Well, what the fuck was he doing? What the hell did I just see? My mind is still trying to process it. I don't have the answer. Can't say I'm surprised, though. Are you serious? That's like the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. Kudzu smirks. Well, I guess it would have to have been there, huh? I stare at him. Yeah, I guess. But from what I know of Brian, he's dumb and violent. Pretty sure he came here because he caused too much trouble in Peyton. It's Clint that's the fucked up part. He's a fucking homophobe. And he's doing that shit? I don't know much about Clint either. What I do know is that Brian is his dealer. Really? Well, really the entire town's dealer. It made sense that Clint would need one in Echo, considering he was banned for life from driving after getting 3 DUIs. But I thought Jeremy did that. Carl told me that's where he gets his weed. Kudzu shrugs again. I assume Clint is using more than just marijuana. Huh. It's becoming clear what kind of relationship Clint and the bear have. I shudder, just wishing that I hadn't had to witness it. I already feel bad for Clint, but now... Kudzu holds out the battery still in his hand. Wanna move to the school? Yeah, let's do that. The next hour is pretty uneventful, though I do get enough footage to the point where I'm satisfied. This is the part where I notice Duke down the road. He stands there for a while, watching us as I'm getting different angles of the school. It's annoying, but even though he's a complete fuck-up, he likes to pretend like he's in control of things in Echo. Probably just promoted himself to sheriff of the town in his mind or something. I ignore him, though. The next time I look up, he's gone. I turn my attention back to the project, finally able to calculate how much work I actually have left. Now most of my work is going to have to happen the night before the due date. I swallow, stomach churning at the thought. On the bright side, all of the stress is pushing the memory of Clint being hanged and whipped out of my mind. Later on, I finally get another text from Leo, just before my phone dies. Eating back. I'm hungry. We should meet at the diner. Sure. I invite Kudzu to come along, but he tells me that he can't stand diner food, that he was going to go fishing anyway. It's too bad because I've really been enjoying the raccoon's company and fishing sounds relaxing. I tried to exchange numbers with the raccoon, but my screen dies the moment I turn it on. Kudzu takes my number, though, and he promises to text me. I'm feeling better about walking to the diner, but then I remember what happened with Leo, what I might have to do. Should I bring it up now? I don't even know where it'll end up going. Could I even trust him again? Leo's not in the diner when I get there. I pick a booth towards the back, resting my head against the patchy cushions and closing my eyes. The week's gone by so fast. It feels like only yesterday that we actually got here. Thinking back, I remember worrying that everything was gonna be awkward and that our paths would catch up in the worst way possible. And it kinda did. We didn't fix or talk about anything. That gives me a jolt of realization and sadness. This whole time, I'd been preoccupied with Leo, and Leo with me. Wasn't Leo the one that was all concerned about us not keeping the pack together? This send-off feels empty, pointless. It's really the last time I might get to hang out with some of them, mainly Jenna and TJ. And TJ had the most shit to air out. Did I fuck up by basically ignoring him this whole time? I feel a lump in my throat as I think about the hike I never went on with him. Sure, I figured things out with Leo, or at least temporarily. Very temporarily, actually. Already things are in jeopardy again. But now it feels like things I should have talked about with the others have been buried further. Even though I haven't seen the others for a few days, I can feel their resentment knowing that Leo and I got what we wanted. Or at least, I thought I got what I wanted. Especially after leaving them to deal with the fallout of Flynn's meltdown. And now, because of that, it'll be harder to reach the root of the problem. Harder to talk about it. And because of that, we probably never will. I glance at my dead phone, reminded of the complete lack of text from anyone other than Leo. I suppose this is life. Sometimes things are buried and never talked about again. And in a way, I guess that's for the best. Sydney's death will die with us. It just sucks that we all carry it and can't rely on each other for support. I take a deep breath, wondering how long it will take me to process this whole trip. Or maybe my entire life up to this moment. It's at this point that I notice Janice hasn't come up to take my order. The diner itself is completely quiet. No old rockabilly coming over the staticky speakers. I look around, wondering if maybe the place is closed. I remember a few businesses didn't lock their doors. Mostly because of negligent employees, because burglary is somewhat common here. I look through the plastic window in the swinging door to the kitchen, past the counter, and notice that the fluorescent lights are definitely on. In fact, it looks like I can see some movement from the shadows on the wall. I think about getting up and knocking on the door to let them know I'm here. But that's when the front doors push open. Leo comes in, a big grin on his face. Jula. My stomach twists as he sweeps me up on my side, and I can't help but jerk it away when he kisses at my cheek. He pulls back, frowning. Joss? I sigh, not able to meet his eyes. Leo, I need to talk to you about something. Immediately, I can see the worry in his eyes. He steps back, watching me. What? Sit down. Why? Leo asks, but sits down anyway. First off, I have to tell him that I looked at his fucking phone, and that's a bad idea. I look to the right, heart pounding. Hold there. What is it? His voice is soft, but I can hear the slight tremble in it. Leo, I looked at your phone. What? I jump as Leo's hackles rise and he bares his teeth. It's not an angry reaction, more defensive, fearful. Leo. Why the fuck would you do that? I shrink back, looking down as I listen to his breathing pick up. I'm sorry, but you know what I saw. Fuck, man. Leo puts his face in his hands, which gives me an opportunity to look up. His ears are down, drooping towards the table. Why did you do that? I wait while Leo continues to hide his face, his body rocking. Not now. Not now what? You can't do this to me now. Not after. I didn't do anything. You're the one texting people that I don't give a fuck about them. His head snaps up, and I can see his eyes glistening. I didn't say that. Just said you were busy. And what you said to TJ. Leo winces at that one, and he slumps back into his booth, his face dejected, desperate. Please, Jess. Just try to understand. What? I let some anger into my voice, wanting to show Leo that I'm not going to forgive him just because he's sad. I think he realizes that because his face changes, lips bared out of anger this time. Yeah, I'm real fucking guilty, aren't I? Yeah, you are. Since the asshole that just ditches me, avoids me, won't talk to me. I don't say anything in response. And you wonder why I'm fucked up about this. You're the one that just walked out and left me. I was young. Yeah, you keep saying that like you're not young now. If you had actually dumped me, then maybe I wouldn't be this fucking messed up about it. The last sentence escalates into a scream. I flatten back into the booth, glaring up at him. Leo had never hurt me before. I'm not afraid he will now. I've endured plenty of his tantrums. Do you know how crazy this makes you look? Oh great, you too! I'm serious. This is fucking unacceptable. I'm drawing the line here. Leo's snarling face turns up, and that's when I hear movement behind me. I turn in my seat and see Janice striding out from behind the window, the kitchen door swinging shut behind her. Janice? Leo's fur flattens down like he's forgotten all about our argument. It makes sense why. Something's wrong. Janice had been acting strange all week, gradually looking more haggard and pissed off as time went on. Of course, I hadn't forgotten what had happened on the side of the road a few days ago. But I'd been content with just assuming it had been some type of drug-fueled adventure of hers. Now, I'm convinced she's having a mental breakdown. Her fur is messed up on every inch of her body. Her eyes are wild and similar to how I'd seen Clint earlier. Blood is smeared across her apron, and the handle of a knife sticks out of the front pocket. Janice, are you okay? Leo's half standing. I'm not sure if it's because he's afraid of her or for her. She doesn't say anything, and as she sidles up next to our booth, I slide a bit towards the inside. Under her wild gaze, I'm feeling a little trapped. Janice? Why all the shouting? Little impatient? Well, let me take your order and I'll get you settled. Are you okay? Are you cooking? Leo glances at her apron. Yes, I'm cooking today. Now what can I make y'all? I get the unnerving feeling that she isn't even looking at us. Leo glances back at me, to which I respond with a bewildered look of my own. You know, I think we might... Nonsense, I got everything fired up in the kitchen. Leo doesn't respond, just stares at a big coyote. Janice smiles crookedly. Well, if you're not gonna order something, then I'll just make your favorite. With that, she turns and starts waddling off, having not even acknowledged me. What the fuck? I reach into my pocket, thinking about calling an ambulance for the poor woman, until I remember my dead phone. I whisper over to Leo. Should we leave? Maybe. But Leo doesn't move, just stares after Janice. I look out the window to the sun-baked road. Have you noticed that something's off? About Janice? No shit. No, not just her. The whole town. I think about mentioning the meadow with Clint and Brian, but I'm still trying to absorb that myself. Leo sits back, still looking back to the kitchen door where Janice disappeared. Honestly, people act so crazy here. I don't know if it's because of drugs or because they're actually crazy. I see his nose twitch. And I don't think she knows how to cook. Something smells funny in there. I look back out the window, wondering if I should bring up argument again. That scene with Janice has totally thrown me off, and I'm reluctant to waste any more energy on yelling. It has to be brought up again somehow. We can't just let this sit. It's clear that's exactly what Leo wants, though, so I huff and stare out the window. This fucking town. I haven't been paying much attention to it in the past few days, being too infatuated with Leo. Sure, I'd seen some weird things, but it seems in my absence everyone's gone to the fucking wacky shack. I look at Leo. Have you been noticing any of this weird shit going on? Leo sighs. Again, I never know what's weird and not here. I guess I've noticed a few things. I frowned. Were you just hoping I wouldn't notice? Leo doesn't say anything. Instead, he just goes on staring at the kitchen. Would he really just let me blindly move to this town when he knows everyone was going fucking crazy? Looking out the window, I notice a figure moving up the street. Jogging. A feline. TJ? Is that Tish? Leo glances out the window. Looks like it. Out for a jog, of course. Dove turns his attention back to the counter as Janice comes out, a messy, dribbling milkshake in her hand. Hey, Janice, what are you cooking back there? I glance up at the crazy coyote as she wobbles over to us, staring at the milkshake with wide eyes. Oh, you know, mate. Leo lets out a hollow laugh. What kind of meat? I'll be honest with you, it's a bit tough and stringy. I lose interest in our conversation and instead look back out at TJ. I feel like something's off for sure. He's a ways away, but he looks kind of afraid. One of his hands reach out to bat at something. Something's wrong. I mutter it under my breath and start to stand, set on getting out there to see what's going on with him. But at that moment, a truck pulls into the parking lot right in front of our window. I find myself staring right at Duke. I also see something big in the back of his pickup, a brown furred head peeking over the roof. Oh shit. Duke. Leo snaps his head over to look out the window. As the weasel gets out of his truck, I see something in his hand. A gun. Shit. Language, Leo. He's bringing in a gun. Leo reaches across the table for me. Not while I'm in here. Janice! But he's already striding over to the doors, just as Duke pushes through them. Just get down! But Duke spots us immediately. I told you not to fucking run away from me. He starts towards our table, but Janice, on the way towards the kitchen, intercepts him. Duke, is that a gun? I am not gonna have you barging in here to ruin this peace. She sticks her bulky body in his way. Get the fuck out of my way, cunt. Language. As if Janice doesn't notice that there's a fucking gun being waved around next to her face. I reach out and grab Leo's arm, trying to pull him down. Call the police. My phone's dead. Leo slowly sits, then looks around. The only exit is at the front. We're trapped. You don't think those fuckers are behind all of this? You've been seeing that auto around too, haven't you? I am not concerned with that anymore. I bet things right. You're not fucking concerned about what's happened to our grandparents is happening to us? I won't ask you to leave again. Her voice is threatening. From this angle, I can't see her hands, but I can see she's reaching for something. Oh my god. Just get down. Leo's voice is bizarrely calm, but as he reaches over to me, I can feel him shake. He presses down on my shoulder, and as I'm about to slide under the table, I see Janice move forward. Then, I cover my head and cower against a booth under the table. Leo shouts and yanks me up against his side, covering me with his arms. I hear him breathe heavily into my ear, and I stare wide-eyed from under the booth, only able to see the dirty beige wall opposite us. Leo's breathing is all I can hear, otherwise it's silent. Then I hear Duke muttering something under his breath, followed by soft padding footsteps. A few seconds later, his legs come into view, and his feet turn in to face us. I see the gun dangling from one hand before he raises it slightly, pointing it at us. I close my eyes. How did this happen? Just seconds ago, Leo and I were arguing, and now I'm about to fucking die. I keep my eyes tightly closed, hugging to Leo as hard as I can and wait. But nothing happens. I keep my face pressed into Leo's chest, though, wondering if I'm already dead. Finally, Duke speaks. Leo. Out. Otter, you stay there. I feel Leo hesitate against me, his lips pressed against my ear. It'll be okay, baby. Just stay here. Slowly he untangles my arms from around him. Then, with his hands up, he pushes out from under the table and stands up. Face the wall. Leo hesitates, and Duke growls. I ain't gonna fucking kill ya. We're just figuring out what's happening is all. Killing you doesn't fix anything. The last guy got killed, and that didn't fix shit. You shot Janice. 'Cause she's got it in my fucking way. But it doesn't matter. Everything's fucked up now. Leo turns to face the wall slowly. I watch from the space between the table and the booth. What do you want? to fix this fucking town. You're starting something with this otter. This has all happened before. Duke looks out the window and makes a come on motion with his hand. We're gonna stop it from happening this time. Leo looks to the left. But you'll fucking kill Janice. I hear the wolf's voice break slightly. Won't matter in the long run. The doors rattle as someone comes in. You got the zip ties? Hands behind your back, Leo. Leo looks at whoever just came in. Come on. Now! Slowly, Leo does as he's told, and I see a pair of massive paws reach down to bind the wolf's wrists. I swallow hard as I watch Brian pull the zip tie tight. Duke puts a forearm to his nose. Fuck you, Stink. I hope you didn't kill that ringtail. We could use him. Brian just grins in response, his teeth yellow. My heart sinks as I think about Clint. Had he been warning me to run? Why had I thought that him hanging from the tree like that was probably just a normal thing for him and the bear? Was he a victim of whatever crazy has just hit the town? That must have been what was going on. All of this is hitting at once. It can't be a coincidence. Clint was probably just as scared as I am now. Grab the otter and tie him up too. Just stick him in your trailer for now. My stomach drops. Duke gestures with his gun again. Come on, out! My legs are lead. I can't move. Leo looks over his shoulder at me, and the fear in his eyes scares me even more. His muzzle moves, mouthing something. Run. But still, I can't move. I've never been so scared in my life. It's like everything is numb. Brian doesn't care, though. He moves forward, the look on his face eager. The gun goes off again. Everyone, including Brian, jumps and I hit the floor with my hands over my head. Fuck! Fuck! I look up and see Duke, eyes extra wild, dancing around, pointing the gun upwards at the ceiling. Fuck! You see that? She's crawling around up there! I told you she's on my ceiling every night. Watch me! Brian's looking up too, and for the first time his face is twisted in an expression that isn't stupidly grinning. It's full of fear. When I look up, I see nothing. Janice! Leo hisses at me, and that bolts me back to reality. Without even willing myself to do it, I shoot up from under the table. In front of me are two exit doors, the front doors and the kitchen door, which is closer. There has to be an exit in the kitchen, but I'm not sure of that. My legs are already making me run, though, and I have to choose now. I don't think there's anything in the kitchen, so I'm going to go to the front doors. Got to barge past them while they're preoccupied, right? I have no idea if that kitchen has an exit. There's no way I can risk it. Don't look back, Jess. Go as fast as you can. As I charge down the aisle, I almost trip over the large form of Janice. She's laying on her stomach, hands stretched out. A smear of red leads to the knife a few feet in front of her. I don't have time to dwell on it as I leap over her body, then charge through the doors. The bright sun and heat contrast heavily with the cool dimness of the diner, but I don't have time to wait for my eyes to adjust. I just take off down the road, and a few seconds later I hear the doors smash as something larger and heavy comes right after me. I don't look back. I gasp and wheeze as I run up the road and turn onto Leo Street. There's no one around, and aside from the dull thumping from some distance behind me, it's completely silent. Something terrible has happened. And not just in the diner. The entire town. I'm not sure why I decided to run for Leo's house, but my mind is numb and reasoning is gone. Briefly, I think about Kudzu, but as I run past his yard, I don't see any sign of him. I don't have time to try his door. I slam into Leo's door, pushing it open as I do. I slam it back shut and lock it with the deadbolt, then take off down the hall for Leo's room. I hear the doorknob turning back and forth as something heavy slams into it. I don't even know if Leo has a landline, and I look left and right, wildly, not spotting a single thing that might be a telephone. I reach Leo's room and shut the door, wishing it had a lock. Jumping to the outlet with my wall charger, I clumsily take my phone out of my pocket. It takes 3 tries to successfully jam the damn thing into my phone. Bouncing with terror, I watch as the screen lights up, giving me the battery charging symbol. Not enough power for it to power on. Something shatters just down the hall, and I almost piss myself. It's followed by silence. I don't dare to even breathe. Then the house seems to shake as the bear ambles about, looking for me. I get down on my knees and try to squeeze up under the desk. I look at my phone again, but it's still at 0%. I'm out of time. The door swings open with a crash and the bear spots me instantly. He rushes at me. I let out an involuntary scream. I dive from under the desk as soon as he's on top of me and try to roll away. He's big, but slow as hell, and I manage to get to my feet. It's at that moment that I remember Leo's gun. But just as my eyes flick in that direction, he lunges at me and swings a huge fist at my face. I jerk back, but he still clips my chin, sending me into a spin and my world into blackness. I stare at the ceiling, mind wandering in circles. There's a heavy breathing above me. I get to my hands and knees, something impacts my side so hard it sends me rolling into the wall. I stare at the ceiling, lungs broken as I writhe around for air. The bear obscures my vision, then reaches down to grab me by the shirt and yank me up. He stares at me, and I stare back before he swings me into the wall again. My vision goes dim. He does it again, then again. On the 5th swing, the dimming finally turns to black.